Hello and welcome to the weekend review for the week ending Friday, October 6th, 2017. And I'm going to continue in the same way that I've continued for the last several weeks, reviewing the 220 EMA Upside Breakout system in EdgeRater, taking a look at the stocks that are in the list of stocks that have weekly options and how they've performed in the context of this particular strategy. So before we go ahead, standard disclaimer, that is, I'm not an investment advisor, I'm not recommending any stocks. Backtesting has limitations, and of course all trading involves risk. You need to do your own due diligence before placing any trades. So if you missed the webinar on the 220 EMA Upside Breakout system, you can check it out here. You can see the replay, edgerater.com/details.aspx?CTX equals 220 EMA webinar. We'll take you right there, and you can watch a replay today. So we'll go ahead and look at the template itself and the results. I'm not going to bother going and showing you how to run the template. That's covered in previous webinars. You just need to go back and look at either that webinar I mentioned or the weekend review series. There is a playlist on YouTube for this entire series of weekend reviews of this particular strategy. Okay, so I ran the template, and here's the report for this week, the end of this week. And if we scroll to the top of the list, I've already got this sorted by stocks that have got a or the highest percentage gain. So NAV again this week is at the top of the list with 40.76% gain since the entry. Mankind has come up on the list here at 36.31%, and as you can see, we'll go down through and we've got some pretty healthy gains in some of these stocks. So let's quickly take a look at some of these. On bring up a chart, so all I have to do to bring up a chart is double click on one of these cells, and the chart of course appeared on the other screen, so I'll bring it over here, and the little annotation bubble is just pointing to the day that I ran the report for, which was 10/6/2017, which was Friday, close of day on Friday. I'll just turn that off so it doesn't distract us. The blue line at the bottom of the chart, as always, is the system itself. So when it goes to a 1 value, that's where it entered into a trade, and you can see here what's happened with NAV. Last week we were at this position over here on the Friday, so it closed at 44.04, and this week it closed at 44.24. So pretty much a week of doing nothing in NAV, but it's been digesting some of these gains that it's had in this tremendous move up here. So doing pretty well. Now let's take a look at the next one on the list. That's Mankind. And so Mankind is interesting. It's actually had a trade recently that we discussed, and it did okay in that trade, and it's now entered on Thursday. It entered into a new trade. So as I said before, I've mentioned this several times, this is a bare bones trading system. So it's really just trying to show you what is trending. You may come up with better ways to enter trades or to exit trades, but it's a bare bones system that has reasonable statistics. So whenever you see a stock and you've seen it's moved up a long way, and you wonder why you're not in that stock and why you didn't see it earlier, it's because it's a lot harder to see them, of course, when they are making their breakouts. But this system conforms to precise rules, which I detailed in that webinar, and so it's not going to miss those trades, and it's going to stay in those trades until the exit event occurs, which is when price touches the 20 EMA. In this case, you can see that's a long way from the entry, and the entry actually was a long way from the 20. The entry occurred on Thursday. It would have occurred 10 cents above this bar here, so you would have been in here at 362 following this system. It actually says on the template 369 was your entry stop, so you would have been in at 369 because that's where the price opened the following day. So it figures all that out as well. If there are gaps, the system will actually enter not at your desired entry price, but it considers it to be a stop. So it would have got you in at the open in that case. Okay, so since then, on Thursday, so it's a pretty incredible move. Just in one day, it's actually gone up 36% from Thursday, well, 2 days, Thursday, entire trading day, and Friday. You would have been up a lot more on Thursday, sold off pretty heavily, and Friday was a big wide-ranging day as well. So quite a lot of volatility here, but I'm just reporting on the results of this system, and it's currently up 36%. Not to say that it won't end at a loss, but that's the current state of play there. Micron, I mentioned this last week as well, also seems to have, this was Friday's bar, so it's just a little bit above last Friday, but it has seen a week of pretty much not moving very much at all. And we'll go down through the list. We can see where the entries were, so just bear that in mind. Always look at the line on the bottom here. The blue line is where the entry occurred, and this is where Puma Biotech currently is at 28.33%. Now I did run this report. You can go down through this list, by the way. Just run your template, get the report, and quickly scroll down through the list. See these stocks. But what I also like to do is bring up last week's report and do a little comparison. So let me find that. I already ran that, but it's easy enough to do. If you hadn't run it last week, you can run it this week, but set the date to be last week, and it will run it as if it was last week. And my report is over here. Last Friday was 9/28, so I'll bring that report over here. And what that allows me to do, because I've got both reports side by side, and you know which one's which because the date column here says 9/28. And if I just scroll over to the current percent gain level column, and then what will happen is, as I go down through this list, I'll see what the gain was last week. So currently NAV is 40.76, last week it was 41.2. As I come down through the list, we've got 36.3. Last week it wasn't even in a trade, as I said, that entered on Thursday. So Mankind made that all in a couple of days. We'll look at Micron, it's at 28%, last week it was at 23. Puma, 28%, last week it was at 24. GPS or Gap is at 24, last week at 23. So not a lot of movement in the stocks that were already in trade. Looks like they've been digesting some of their gains. But we'll come down through the list, and there aren't. I'm just trying to find ones that have a significant difference, and yeah, they're all similar. Here's one, Cree, 11.55% last week, and this week at 16.7%. We can take a look at that chart. Just look at the chart here. So you can see that on Friday, the previous Friday, it closed at this level here, 28.21. Ran up all the way through to this Friday where it gapped down, but then still closed up at 29.44. So pretty strong move during the week in that stock. So that's one way of looking at the difference. The other way is you can actually go the other way around, and instead of looking at the stocks this week and seeing how they did last week, you might be interested, and this is quite insightful, you might be interested in looking at stocks from last week's list. I'm going to just make this easier by filtering it down so we don't see the blanks here. And then I go to the top of the list, and then I'll not filter this one, so I get all of the information. And as I come down through the list, then I'll see if a trade has actually exited in the week. As I scroll down through here, on the left hand side, the current gain is going to be blank because it's not currently in a trade. So I can go down through here and see which trades have actually exited. So as I come down, none of these yet have actually exited. So here's a trade that exited. Acadia last week was a gain of 16.34%. This week it is, so now it's currently not in a trade. It did exit, and it's also saying here that the exit event was today, which is the Friday, of course. That's the last bar of data we have. So if you want to see how that looks, we can come to the chart and scroll to the very end, and you can see why it exited. It touched the 20. You might wonder why this bar didn't exit. It's because it's using the 20 EMA value of the prior day, and it didn't quite get to the 20 EMA of prior day on that bar, but on this bar it did cross down through there, so it was an exit. So the entry would have been here at around the 33-ish level, and the exit was here at around this 20 EMA of yesterday, Thursday, 37.34. So quite a nice gain in that. Now we're going to go through and take a look at, so those are all the stocks that are currently still in a trade, and I've also ran the report to show me the list of stocks that exited to give me the actual trade list, and I've filtered this down by stocks that exited last week, so I'm only looking for exit date anywhere from 10/6 down to 10/2, I believe was the Monday, and I've sorted this by P&L percent. So the biggest trade winner was Acadia, we just looked at that, but now I'm looking at a trade list. It's actually a good idea to turn annotations on, because even though the blue line at the bottom is showing you where the trade entered and exited, if you turn annotations on and you select this row, it's actually going to highlight that with a bubble. Because it's looking at a trade list, it knows where the entry and exit prices were, and it's able to point that out on the chart for you. So I can just scroll down through, put my cursor in, highlight one of these fields, and I like to just use my arrow key to quickly scroll down and see these trades that exited. So a 9% gain, 7%-ish gain here. Of course, it's interesting here to see the trades that exited for a loss. You don't realize any money, obviously, in a trading system until you sell and get the money in your account. So this is really the important side of it. And we'll go down through the losing trades. This is an interesting one because the posted exit on Costco would have been at the 20 EMA of the prior bar, which would have been 162.41. However, there was a gap down, so it couldn't exit at 162.41, so the system took an exit at the opening price of that day, which is 159.03, for a loss of 1%. And we'll come down through the list, we'll see all of these losses, and we'll go down to the biggest loss. It's always interesting to look at those. And we can see here, really this was a bad trade from the entry. It just sold off until it touched the 20 EMA. Gave some hope here, but we already exited at this point, and then sliced back down through the 20 on Friday. So this was the worst trade. It just turns out the entry here was actually about 7% above the 20 EMA, so that was your risk, and it took full risk in that particular position. What I've done in here is I've actually totaled up the P&L column to find out if it would have been overall a profitable week of exits, and the number is positive, so that means it would have been a profitable week with all the exits. And don't forget, there's all of the theoretical gains that are the positions that are still open in the strategy, and some of those are open for quite nice gains. But as I said before, it's not until you sell that you can actually realize those profits. So the closing price and the trade list is actually the most important thing, but it's nice to know the account has some profitable open positions in it too. So just quickly, I want to go through the downside part of this strategy. If you remember last week, I mentioned that there is a new template which follows the downside part of this, and so let's just quickly take a look at that. And I won't spend too much time on this, but this will actually remind you how to run it. So you find your downside breakout template. It's in my favorites category, because I put a star next to it. But before you do that, it's going to be in your stocks and commodities category. So I put it in there, and I'm just going to select that and run it on the list of CBOE weeklies. This list, by the way, has been updated on the website, so you should download the most recent version of the CBOE weeklies list. That has got the stocks that currently have weekly options updated by the CBOE as of Friday. So it's the most up-to-date list that is available. And here's the report. And all I'm going to do here is just take a look at the current gains column and see where we are. So I'll sort twice to give us a descending sort, and then remove the blanks. That will bring the best ones to the top of the list, and we can take a look at some of those charts quickly. So here we are, and it seems like most of the stocks at the top of this list are things like things that inversely follow the market. So the Ultra VIX, for instance, VIX goes down when the market's going up, and the Ultra VIX obviously goes down even more. So market last week must have been doing pretty well. LABD, that's the inverse for LABU. So biotech, bear. This is actually a real stock. This is not an inverse stock, but obviously it's not done very well. And we've got the blue line here indicates where the entry was, came back almost up to the 20 EMA and sold off again. So currently for a 22% gain on the short side of this strategy. Avon products entered here quite a ways below the 20 EMA, but continued to sell off. Almost hit the exit here, but didn't quite, and is currently an 18% gain if you're short Avon products, or if you're using the weekly options, using some kind of short strategy. That would be a nice profit in there too. So as you can see, the short side has some stocks that are doing quite well as well. And I'll keep tabs on this as we go forward, so you can see both of these sides, the upside and the downside part of this strategy. Never miss a stock that's moving again if you look at both of these, moving either up or down. So that's all I wanted to cover this week, and that's 15 minutes, so I just wanted to give this quick update. Don't forget, you can run this template, you can take a trial of EdgeRater, you can run this template during the trial, and if you own the product with a permanent license, you can run this template forever. So enjoy it, keep checking it out on a daily basis, and you are sure to be able to find stocks that are going to make those big gains. So never miss a stock again. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your weekend, and bye for now.